If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this super awesome episode of Mind Pump.
Super excellent.
So look, for the first 40 minutes, we don't talk about fitness much, but we do have a fun introductory conversation. We start out by talking about George Michael. Oh, that's a handsome guy.
Of course we did.
Very, very handsome guy. Then we talked about piercings. Find out the kind of
progression.
Piercings that we've all had. You'll be surprised with Justin's.
Yay.
Ouch. Then we talked about bogus hemp oil and CBD products out there and how Ned hemp oil is not bogus. It's one of the best ones that we've ever found. Now, Ned does produce quality, full-spectrum cannabinoid hemp oil products. If you go to helloned.com, that's HELLO, ned.com/mindpump, you'll get 15% off your first purchase. Then we talked about Justin's brush with death. Oh, boy, that was scary.
Still shaking up about
Scary.
it.
And we talked about MasterCard's rebranding. We talked about my daughter's magic obsession. I think she has a crush on David Blaine.
Watch
that
out.
Son of a bitch. I brought up an article. I brought up an article on gym memberships. We talked about Felix Gray's new nighttime blue blocking glasses. They are one of our sponsors. If you go to felixgrayglasses.com, that's Felix, Felix, Gray, Gray, glasses.com/mindpump. We got you hooked up with free shipping and free returns. Then we talked about exercise and the brain and how it actually will make you smarter and improve your brain health.
Imagine that.
Then we get into the questions. The first question, so this is when we talk about fitness, was which set determines the amount of gains you're going to get? The first set, the last set, or the ones in the middle?
All of them.
And also, how much volume is the right amount of volume for someone to start when they first start working out? The next question, can we expand on the idea that not all calories are the same? In other words, is 500 calories from French fries the same as 500 calories from sweet potatoes? I'll tell you what, right now, they're not the same. The French fries taste much better. The next question, this person has heard that training a healthy limb when the other limb is incapacitated will actually cause strength gains in the incapacitated limb. In other words, if you broke your arm, let's say your left arm is broken and you work out your right arm, it'll actually increase the strength of your broken arm as well. Is there any truth to this? You'll be blown away by the scientific stuff that we present in that part of this episode. And the final question, we're all kind of fans of cannabis. How are we going to approach this with our kids when they become interested in it? Are we going to talk to them about it? Are we going to make it super taboo?
We're going to beat them.
Are we going to beat them? Find out in that part of this episode.
Make them smoke the whole thing.
Also, this month, our flagship program, MAPS Anabolic, half off.
What?
50% off. Go to mapsfitnessproducts.com. Use the code RED50, R-E-D, and the number 50, no space, for 50% off. We also have other MAPS programs for other goals and other types of people. They can all be found at mapsfitnessproducts.com. But, of course, don't forget, 50% off MAPS Anabolic. Use the code RED50, R-E-D50.
T-shirt time!
And it's T-shirt time.
Oh, it's my favorite time of the week, Doug.
So we had a pretty good number of reviews this week, twice as many iTunes reviews than Facebook. So Facebook people, pick it up a little bit.
Weak sauce.
All right, the winners are, for iTunes, Ears to the Ground, Jared Ruby, Curly Bear 404, and Last 187. And for Facebook, we have Michael Evans and Ashley Costa. All of you are winners in the name I just read. Send your shirt size, your shipping address, as well as your Instagram handle, because we will be putting these up one of these days, so please include that. So send that all over again to iTunes at mindpumpmedia.com, and we'll get that shirt right out to you.
Easy for you to say.
Curly Bear Muscle Cub.
Turn me up before we go.
That's not the song.
That's how it goes?
It's not how we start this solo.
No, it's Wake Me Up.
Oh.
Wake me up before you can go.
They don't
That's
say
right.
turn me on in there too? Justin? I think so.
Something tonight. What is that?
I think
Take me dancing tonight.
Oh, there you go.
I think they say wake
And then they hit that.
Bing, ding,
Hit that.
ding. I want to get that high.
Yeah, there you go. That's the part.
it's too
of the song,
early.
too.
I think
too
they
early.
say "Turn Me On" too, don't they?
I wish. I got a little bit of a cold going on right now.
Turn me on.
I kind of wish my voice was always like this. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
It does sound.
I sound like
Sultry.
I sound like Bradley Cooper from that movie with Lady Gaga. Did you guys watch that movie?
Yes, we lost.
He talks like this. Anyway, so he does that thing with his voice. It's kind of annoying, but whatever. Oh, there's the lyrics.
Oh yeah.
You put the boom boom into my heart. I didn't realize this song was so lyrically brilliant.
Jitterbug into my brain.
You send
Goes
my soul
bang,
sky
bang, bang.
high when your lovin' starts. Jitterbug into my brain goes bang, bang, bang till my feet do the same.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
poetic.
That's just
Keep going down, Doug. Let me see if there's "Wake Me Up, Wake Me Up,
Yeah.
Wake Me Up."
wake me up before you go. Don't leave me hanging on like a yo-yo.
Like a yo-yo.
That's just
Yeah.
who came up with that brilliance?
It works though.
Because I'm not planning on going solo. Oh, you know what this is about?
What?
This is about it's about sex. It's all about sex.
Yeah.
It's not about wake me up before you leave. It's like wake me up
Wake me up. I want to bang.
before you don't take care of yourself. I'll take care of you.
Right.
Now,
It's a George Michael song.
yeah, so now we know he's talking about a guy.
He's talking about a dude.
Yeah,
And
he's
his
like
yo-yo.
He's like, bro.
His yo-yo.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, wake me up before
he
you
wants
go.
to get on that pogo.
Bro.
bro. See, I can write it too. It's not hard.
I mean, whatever. He's gonna be gay, straight, doesn't
Hey,
matter.
it's
but
fine.
but here's the deal.
Isn't that interesting,
When
though?
I was a kid,
Like
George-
Elton John songs and all that, and it's like they're like these love ballads, but you're like, now you go back and you're like, just you're singing it to a dude, so let's get in that mindset.
yeah, do that.
Yeah.
So the thing about George Michael though was a lot of people, we got a younger audience, so they don't know this. George Michael was a massive stud.
Oh, he was,
Every girl-
He's a handsome dude.
Every girl wanted him.
Yeah.
Badly.
A lot of guys were dressing like
He had that like 5 o'clock shadow that was like just perfectly groomed.
He might have made the 5 o'clock shadow popular.
I think he did. I
was
think
that-
he dyed it too. It was like way too
Dude,
perfect.
he was so attractive
That's
that
a really good point. He might have made the 5 o'clock shadow.
Now here's the
popular.
thing. So
Who
there,
before
I
him?
think so.
So there he is from that video from.
And he had that
Wake
big
Me Up.
old cross earring.
So Wham definitely looked what's the word, androgynous, right? You got it was the 80s look, right?
Pretty
But then if
macho.
you look at the George Michael video, what's that song? Faith.
Yeah. You gotta
Look up
have
George
faith,
Michael
faith,
Faith. This right here, women they couldn't even.
There's no the G.
I mean,
yeah.
look, at that, bro. Look at that, bro. Come on now, makes you question yourself, even, right, Adam?
Handsome as fuck right there.
just
Right?
It's too handsome.
Like women just were like, oh man, like a big sigh.
Yeah.
Like they weren't getting anywhere.
And a lot of guys were like, maybe,
Like, hey,
not maybe.
I mean,
He had
the right circumstances.
He had the long earring. Remember the thing that was in the 80s?
Yeah, it was the
late 80s,
long
early 90s?
cross earring he had.
Yeah,
He
like
was-
Barry Bonds and him both had that.
Just on
oh,
one
it's like
side.
it's like a lightning bolt. I was wrong.
It's not a cross?
It's a lightning bolt.
So was that a thing back then where if you only had your left ear pierced, it meant you meant you were gay?
Yeah,
Is that for reals?
that was kind of a signal, right? It was the way that they were able to kind of define that.
Yeah. Now, did you ever get your ears pierced, Justin?
I did actually. I got
You did?
just one time.
No, you didn't.
I did because I was bored in college, and this is how things like that start, right?
All right. Is that the only? Wait, hold on.
Starts with that, then you start dyeing your hair, and then you listen to George Michael, and you know where it
And
goes
then you
from
and your
there.
friend.
But
Experiment.
so yeah, I definitely pierced my ear, and I regretted it.
Both
immediately.
ears or one?
Just one. And so I thought because I don't know if I'm somewhat of a I try to be like, I don't know, I lean more on the macho side of things. And so I was like trying to convince myself that like if I did it on the top of my ear where it like hurt more, that was like cooler.
Oh, that's where you had it?
I had it like on the cartilage part at the
That's
top.
even worse.
Yeah, it's way worse.
Yeah, I know. You know the funny part was
You put like a piece of sandpaper through it just to look tough?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like blue with like some little ball. It was really not.
How long did you
not
keep it
manly
in
and
for?
Tough. I kept it in for 2 days.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, so I actually, you know why? Because
Not
I went to
committed
go
to anything.
No, I went to go get my hair cut, and I go to like this manly ass barber who was like this old guy with like a flat top.
Oh, great.
And so he's like giving me the fade, and like doing the whole thing. And he kept like hitting it. and it was like real fresh, and like it was all sore and
Like
shit.
flicking it?
And he just kept flicking it with the thing, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then he just kept hitting it. He's like, ugh. And he was fucking with me. And I'm like, dude. And I knew what he was doing. Like, he was just like, yeah, you like that, huh? You like that. Nice little earring you got there,
Wow.
And he's like throwing some like weird
Is that the only
homophobia on me.
Is that the only piercing you ever had?
Yeah.
Why'd you
Why are you looking down?
Prince
you
Albert.
paused. You paused, bro. There was a pause there.
I knew a
Are you
guy.
being honest?
One ball Pat. Did I tell you about him?
No.
Yeah. One ball Pat in college. He had that bar that goes like right under
Prince
your shaft.
Albert.
Yeah.
It's Prince Albert.
Wait, why was he one ball, Pat?
Because he only had one ball.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
He's like
Came back from
like a pirate.
yeah, one ball Pat, dude. He had like ball cancer.
He's a-
and he
he's
took
a-
one of them.
a dick pirate.
Sad story, but but he made it work. It was one ball Pat, and so he had this like it was like this big.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
And it went through the shaft.
I was like,
So he showed you?
you just mangled. Like, yeah. I looked at it. I had to. I didn't believe him.
Yeah.
Again, I
You don't have to.
no, listen.
I just want you to know.
You know,
Yeah.
this
Regardless of
is
what he
another
told-
one I just like barely made it out. Like I just avoided something that
He's like, hey, check this out real quick.
He's like, hey, look at this.
You know when
Ever
you
seen
lose
something like this before?
You know when you lose a ball, the other one makes up the difference and makes the testosterone that the one
I
ball.
heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it grows
that
too.
true?
I don't know. I wonder if it grows too. So since you saw him, was it a bigger than normal testicle? Do you remember?
Do you remember?
I don't.
You remember what it felt
It's
like?
not really burned in my head. It was really cold on my tongue.
He pushed
Hey,
it.
He took it further.
I'm gonna one up you.
He's gonna
guys.
own it.
Fuck you guys.
Now, Adam, you had both ears pierced.
No, I just one. I just had one. Also.
I thought you had both.
Yeah, but I didn't have the top. I just had the.
I feel like you had your tongue pierced. No,
No, bro.
I can see that.
You never had your tongue pierced?
No, I didn't have my tongue
Can you
pierced.
imagine?
Get the fuck out of here
It's all-
with that.
Remember that guy that would like roll it across
Bro.
his teeth? Like,
First of all, if anybody in this room was gonna pierce their tongue, it would be you,
right?
Obviously,
No.
of course. What do you
like
you
you
painted
could-
your toenails?
you could do it.
If a girl liked it,
different.
you would have done it.
No, girls liked it at one point.
Why didn't you do it?
But that's no
painful.
No, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
I had a buddy who.
There used to be like wasn't there a meme floating around that? Like if you have a tongue piercing, you probably suck a dick.
Really?
Well,
Yeah,
that's-
I don't know if that was a thing.
It's kind of an obvious signal.
There was a
right?
lot. No, I mean, a lot of people got it. Well, let's see. For a while in the beginning, in the early days of tongue piercing, men and women got it, and then it became more of a girl thing, right? But wasn't it at first like a guy and girl? Same thing with belly button rings. Did you know that?
Yeah, I had a buddy that had a belly button ring.
When they first came out,
Yes,
it was a guy and a girl thing, and then it quickly just became like, no, only girls get their belly button ring.
I feel like it's always been one or the other, and then just somebody didn't get the memo. That's what I think.
Yeah, hey, check out my belly button ring.
The belly button rings were always for chicks, and then I think some people just didn't get the memo.
I remember one guy that he had like a sun tattoo around it, and it was
Oh, that's
Yeah,
weird.
that's
Is it the same guy?
Dude, this is the same dude.
Hold on.
Wait,
I
did
think
he
we all
work
know
at
this.
24 hour?
Yes.
I think we all
I know what you're talking
That's
about.
Casey.
Oh wow.
Wow, I like how
Yeah.
Adam just
Wow.
calls people
Yeah,
out.
no,
I do. I don't give
It's
a-
the-
I don't
and here's his address. Yeah.
I
He's
think
my roommate.
really.
Yeah,
Oh,
fuck that
really?
guy. You know what I'm saying? No.
Some bad blood there. Huh?
No, he was somebody who lived with me for a short stint. He was a what do you call a liar who lies all the time? Does he know he's lying? What's it called?
Oh yeah.
Pathological liar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was a pathological liar. And
Yeah,
he was-
he doesn't look like he made a lot of good decisions.
no, he was not. He was not. And he was the first person that I ever knew personally that was addicted to coke too. Like just rolling this dude on the bus.
Wow. What was his last name?
I don't give
No,
a
I'm just
fuck.
kidding.
Yeah,
No, don't do
yeah.
it. Don't do it.
Fuck this guy. I don't care. Like, he left my house when he left my place when he finally moved out, and I cleaned his room out because he didn't really clean his room when he left. There was razor blade marks all in my window seal and little like half cut straws everywhere.
Oh my god.
And I remember even like
Did you know he was addicted to coke?
No, I had no idea. Like I mean up until that point.
You just thought he was really energetic.
Well, no. What's funny is I
Scarface
could
is
count on
always
I could
on.
count on one hand how many times I had been around coke at this point. This is like my I'm like 25 or so around this time, and so I hadn't been exposed that much to coke. Definitely not to somebody who was addicted to it. Now, all the signs were there. If I go back now and like someone's asked me, like I've talked about this guy before, and he had the most rancid breath in the morning. And we would get in my car, and it was so putrid. I'd pull the car over and like look in the car, and it took me a few times of us getting in the car in the morning together for me to realize it was this dude's.
This guy's getting roasted.
This is fun. Keep going.
He's a fucking cokehead. You know what I'm saying? Like, you deserve it. You deserve to get talked about. You know what I'm saying? Fuck him.
Yeah.
So his breath used to stink like crazy. I didn't put that together then. The part that was like shame on me, like I remember we both worked at the same place. So we would carpool a lot of times to work. And I get up, I've talked before on the show, I get up like 3 times a night. I have to go pee. I have like a child's bladder. And I'm up all the time going pee. And every time I get up to go to the restroom, this dude would be out in the living room in like one of our like camping chairs, like in the middle of the living room, fucking video games. 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning and shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then we get him and go to work at like 8. I'd be like, what the
Like, this guy's
You don't sleep?
This
Yeah.
guy's a champion.
Yeah, exactly. Champion. That's what I used to back then because we were all on speed stacks and on all fucking liquid coke.
You're on the weed. You're the weed.
Yeah.
Herbal coke.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The light, Coke Light. You know what I'm saying? That we're all doing.
Coke with training wheels.
Yeah. So I didn't piece that. And so he had, his teeth were kind of like rotted. He had this Coke breath, and he had this staying up late stuff. So it didn't all come together, though, until he moved out, and I found all the evidence, the razor blade marks on my freaking window seal, all the cut straw, but they were just everywhere.
How are people addicted to coke? That could be so expensive.
I know,
It's
right?
got to be the most expensive.
Well, we make good money back then. I mean, we were all kids making 6 figures. I mean, that's a lot back then. And
so you're just blowing it all on. Literally on blow.
drugs. Yeah, no,
That's
drugs.
terrible.
Yeah, drugs, and then like outfits. He was always he was dressed. He was dressed all to the nines.
I had a
always.
guy that used to work for me, a trainer, super burly, jacked, kind of like this really kind of manly dude that used to work for me. And for a second there, him and I started working out together, and we also worked out with DJ. You guys know DJ, good guy. We all started lifting together, and we all became workout partners. Well, we go in the locker room to change after one of our workouts. This is after the guy worked for me for like 6 months. Dude takes his shirt off and he's got both nipples pierced. I just had no idea. He's the most conservative, straight-laced, kind of macho, tough
It's
dude.
always kind of shocking.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, dude.
You like to get those things pulled.
Yeah, so I told everybody in the gym.
Everybody.
Yeah, it was just terrible.
Just go up and flick them.
I would
Yeah.
never do that. I have super sensitive.
Oh,
nipples.
yeah, that sounds
You want to
horrible,
get punched
dude.
in the face by
I
me?
can't stand people
fucking
touching
twist
those.
my nipple. or something.
There's 2 reasons why I never got anything pierced. One is because my dad would have ripped it out of my face or whatever. That's one.
Yeah.
2 is because then I always had the fear of what if you get in a fight and somebody grabs that shit and pulls it out.
And those are all 2 real things.
Yeah, those are 2 real things that could, because I know what I would do if I got in a fight with someone with piercings.
Yeah.
That's the first place I'd go.
Yeah.
It's a nice little hook. that you can hold on to.
I think the earrings that the earring would always like come right out. Like if someone did like hit, because if you got into a scuffle, which I'd been in with an earring, and I think it just pops right out.
Do you take them off real quick before you throw down?
No, yeah.
Hold on a second.
One second. Let me take my hoops out real quick.
Hold this for me.
Hold my earring.
Put them in your little baggie.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's funny too because when I was at San Jose State, I used to live at this house, and this guy's talking about pierced nipples. There's this guy that he had both nipples pierced, and he had a third nipple, and he decided to pierce it just to like.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Wait a
I'm not
minute.
even joking.
Where was it?
Right here, like under. If you go down a little bit lower, kind of on the rib, he had another nipple, and then it was like
He's like a cat.
pronounced. Yeah, it was like a teat.
Wow.
I might pierce that. I can get down with that.
You know what I mean? I
like
actually
own
thought
it.
it was a bold move.
Right,
I was
right.
like,
it's there. People are going to be weirded out about it. May as well fucking pierce it.
might as well pierce it.
Now here's the
Or
question.
tattoo around it, make it like into something, like put a pair of eyes. And make it like That's what I would do.
A boob.
Yeah.
So now
I got my third eye right here.
here's the real question. Is it sensitive like the other 2 nipples, or is it just look like a nipple but just feels like skin?
I think it's a falsie.
it's it's not real.
Yeah, it's a faux.
Because
nipple.
if it did feel like something, that might be kind of interesting. You know what I mean? You could have a few play the thing out.
Little ping pong pong.
Yeah, it's like-
it's like 1, 2, 3. Oh,
You tune the radio a little bit.
yeah.
Anyway, so I had a cousin of mine send me a picture of this. I want to tell you guys about this, of this hemp oil that he bought, some brand I never heard of before. And he's like, "Hey, is this good? I just bought it. It cost him like $75."
Why didn't you tell me to use Ned?
Well, hold on. Let me tell you the story. So first, he doesn't listen to my show, and
okay.
idiot. Anyway, so
where have you been?
but he still knows to ask me questions about supplements or whatever. So he sends it to me, And so I sent him the article that I had shared with you guys a while ago about how there were some independent labs going around testing these hemp oil companies. And a lot of these hemp oils have very little active cannabinoids. It's just oil. And and there's the market right now is being flooded with all these hemp oil products and CBD based products, which we called a while ago. You're going to see by the way, it's going to go gangbusters now because they just passed the laws making hemp, loosening the laws on hemp. So now hemp can be grown all over the place. And because there's such a thing around a buzz around CBD and cannabinoids and even cannabis that people now are going to probably try and get stuff from hemp. So you're seeing it all over the place. So I told him, like, listen, buddy, I'm like, you probably got garbage because all the stuff that's out there right now, when they test them, a lot of it comes back, just like supplements, a lot of it comes back and they find that it's got crap in it. So I had him do some research on Ned, and I said, check them out because, when we first worked with them, I had them send me the lab. I wanted to see the lab tests. I want to see how many, what are the cannabinoids in here, how much CBD is in there.
We went back and forth with them for a while. I remember when you were on the call with them. Speaking of that, and speaking of Ned, we had a lot of people on our forum that were wanting us to respond to what our buddy Mike Matthews talked about on his show the other day in regards to CBD oil. Did you listen to that by any chance?
I didn't listen to his podcast, but I read his. Now, first off, the article of his blog was very catchy to kind of get your attention. Yeah. And here's the thing about
bait and switch.
No, it's not bait. No, here's the thing about Mike. He writes. He's got a lot of integrity, and he has a tough time promoting or talking about anything unless it has super established evidence. So he doesn't like to promote or talk about anything that doesn't have like this crazy amounts of evidence. A lot of the evidence supporting CBD, besides treating epilepsy, is like newer type of evidence, and so it's not super highly established yet. And so that's kind of what the article was about. So there's not a lot. There wasn't anything in there that I really disagreed with, and really his point is kind of what I'm talking about, how it's flooding the market and they're just throwing it everything.
Yeah,
right.
There's protein
like
powder.
A forewarning to really make sure you get the quality out of it, and not just
get quality, but it's also not this panacea where you're just gonna can treat everything.
The magic pill.
Yeah, and it's now you see protein powders with CBD. Here's a bath bomb. Put it in your bath. It's got CBD in it, or rub CBD on your eyeballs to make you whatever.
There is a lot of that going around.
A lot.
Yeah.
I saw CBD cereal. Actually, had somebody yes.
Whoa.
Somebody sent me a picture of the cereal with and I'm like, yeah, of course. This is
Weedios.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Weedios.
The biggest application I use our Ned for right now is either the dogs or myself at night, and I don't even use it every single night. It's like one of those things that I know.
Well, yeah, I have so I was going to wait we got on the show, but like last night, I swear, like we almost died. Like what? It was crazy because it rained really hard and like we're underneath all these redwood trees. And every time that there's a big storm that comes through, I'm always worried because of the wind, but mainly when it rains, the limbs get really heavy. And I'll show you guys pictures of this later, but all of a sudden, so my youngest was like doing some like art craft on the kitchen table, and we were kind of doing our thing, and then all of a sudden we heard this huge boom, crash, smash, and we look over and it was like almost like a full-size tree just went right through the roof.
What?
On the overhang of the roof that goes onto the deck, and it came down like at an angle and just pierced right through the roof, and like all I could think of was it was maybe feet away from my youngest, and so
what
the hell
freaked out.
How did you not bring that up?
It's weird how he brings up shit like this.
I was waiting for the
20
show
minutes after we talk about George Michael.
I was just warming you guys up.
I almost died this weekend.
Hold on a second.
So there's a branch sticking through your roof right
I will
now.
show you pictures. Yeah, it is so like it was hard for us to sleep.
I want to see pictures now. Pull up your phone and give us
so
everybody's freaked out.
Yeah, no, it was, and so why I'm bringing that up is because like Courtney already deals with anxiety and already deals with a lot of some like past like trauma stuff we're kind of working through, but like that just intensified like all of our state, and so that was like literally the only thing I could think of was to take some like. Of the Ned stuff to try and like help with that process. Of, like,
wow, what a
down.
great transition to a commercial right there.
Yeah,
did it work?
Let's go extreme like we're gonna die.
Right, we're almost ready to die. We took some Ned.
We took some Ned. Here, look.
Did it help her?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Pass this over. Let me see.
Yeah, let
this
me
shit.
see this picture, bro. What happens if this actually hits?
He was like, either that or I was going to drink some alcohol because it was
Oh
so
my God,
traumatic,
bro.
dude.
What if this goes inside your? What if it goes in the roof part of your house? Will it go through?
Yeah, of
Really?
course.
Now I've only been using the 350 meg. I want to order the 750. I want to order the
It does have anxiolytic properties for sure. I'll debate anybody on that. I said that, by the way, because on the forum people say I say that all the time. Apparently,
that you'll debate.
that I'll
anybody.
debate anybody.
Oh, debate
I don't know. So I just want to make sure I do a little.
Constantly throwing it out
You want to
there.
be consistent.
Yeah. Did you guys see in the forum? There was a bunch of quotes that we say on the show all the time.
Yeah, you
And
know-
that thing went
yeah,
like 50.
yeah.
You have like 1,000 for you.
Yeah, I know.
That means you
Yeah.
talk too much.
Well, no,
Probably.
You do a lot of the setup, so it's like part of the formula. You know,
Yeah. If something works, I just keep using it
Yeah.
until it stops
it's
working.
fine.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's me and dick jokes.
So what are you gonna do? So is it dangerous to live where you live?
You know,
Obviously.
Well, so here's the thing: everybody gets it furred up after a while once the limbs start kind of growing back. And had been talking to my neighbor about it because he just had some guys over to do it, and that was like next on my agenda because it had been a while. But still, our limbs weren't that big, and so this was on a tree that I didn't even consider. It was like it was one that was sort of off to the side, so I guess the wind blew it kind of at an angle and it shot down diagonally.
So flew.
It literally flew.
Does it
like
get super windy
and
up there?
pierced through. That day it was really windy, yeah. So the trees, like, and the thing about redwoods, they're really stable, and so they don't. You're not worried that any of them are going to uproot or anything. But sometimes if you let those limbs grow to like a good size, that can happen.
See, every once in a while, I almost want to live
Yeah, where you're
near
at.
the wood. Near the woods.
This does deter.
The
then-
spider
yeah.
stories and the trees coming through.
This does deter people for sure.
Now I'm cool. You know what the thing is?
I'm all right with it. I made peace with it.
It's not even so much of the danger about it because that does suck. It's the dealing with the cleanup after. I'm like, oh god, now I got to call
I know. I'm gonna
somebody.
get the chainsaw out and take care of that bitch later today. So.
Hey, that means you're getting laid though.
Oh yeah.
With his shirt off.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
I got like my flannel tied at my waist.
Yeah, just
you
like-
know.
You know he gets everything already too and try and times it for when
Yeah,
Courtney's
hey,
coming
I bet that's the first thing that went through his head.
Exactly.
It's a crash.
Smell like wood chips.
Don't
You know
worry,
what I mean?
don't worry, babe. I'll take care of it.
Yeah,
got
don't
this.
worry. I got this.
I got this.
Yeah, I went out first thing, took pictures. She's like, "Be careful." Like, I got this.
Anything for you.
No,
Listen,
no big deal.
when it comes to
No
my
big deal.
family,
I'm
no-
like, ah! Like I was looking up, like I couldn't see it. It was super dark. It was fucking scary. I was terrified.
Listen, babe. When it comes to
But
my family,
I pulled it off like I was confident. I'm like, yeah, no big deal.
I got this. Yeah, no problem. So would you guys? What was that article that Rachel shared with us? Was it MasterCard now is getting rid of the name?
Oh yeah, so I read that like basically their whole thing was that they're an international brand and so they're well known, and so Apple and Nike, they're kind of like comparing the fact that they kind of distilled down their branding and imagery to just the icon, and so that's all it was. It wasn't like anything to deal with like MasterCard being like,
Well, they said something about card. Like they don't want to have card in there because now the way people are paying,
Yeah.
you don't even have a physical card like
that-
you used to.
right.
So it's just going to be the.
It's
but
just the image of the
but
two circles.
in order to do that, though, you got to have a really established brand.
Yeah, it's silly anyways.
You
Yeah,
got to take the name off.
Yeah, it's not going to say. Yeah, exactly.
That is
Yeah,
crazy.
because I could foresee a lot of idiots not doing the research and be like, "Oh, this is the way to do it."
I want
now.
to read the book that she's reading though. Now I already looked it up. I'm gonna.
What book?
It
The
was-
one that Rachel.
I
was
thought
in?
it was like some weird social justice, get rid of the name Master,
Oh,
or
stupid.
something.
Oh, I
you
got. While you look up that book, Adam, I got a dad joke for you guys. You ready for this?
Oh, you can't wait.
My daughter thought this was the funniest thing ever. How do you keep fish from smelling? Just cut off their nose.
Nice.
Boom.
Nice.
Boom. Anyway, so what's the book?
great. She came up with that? I'm telling you, she's going to be a natural.
She loved it. Oh, you know what she's been watching nonstop, which I'm letting her do because I don't like my kids just watching TV for hours unless I think it's something that I think is cool for them.
Okay.
She's been watching Magic like crazy.
Really?
Yeah, like on Netflix.
just magic shows.
no,
Oh,
like
that-
specials.
Oh, yeah. The guy from England. Have you seen his
She watched
special?
all of them.
Oh, yeah, that guy is fantastic.
So here's the thing. So there was this one little trick he did where he was at this like outdoor shop or whatever.
Uh-huh.
and he just walks up to some random ladies, and there was all these wood carvings of like animals and stuff. And he goes, "Let me guess which one you're most interested in looking at or whatever." And he guesses, and it's a wooden frog, and he puts it in her hand, and she's like, "Wow, how did you know?" And then he waves his hand over it, and it turns into a real frog.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's like, "Whoa!" So I looked at my daughter, and I'm like, because her favorite is David Blaine, right?
Mm-hmm.
She might even have a crush on him. Damn it,
David Blaine's,
son of a
yeah,
bitch.
he's the best.
Anyway, yeah, but the crush part makes me a little irritated. 9 years old, but anyway, so I'm like,
it's gonna happen.
I know. What am I gonna do? Yeah. So I'm like, so I said to her, I said, "Whoa!" I said, "He turned it into a real frog," and she's like, "So cool." I'm like, "Do you think he's as good as David Blaine?" She's like, "No." She goes, "David Blaine would have ate the frog too." I was like, "That's so."
The
true.
frog would have had a card in it that he pulled out.
Yeah, he would have cut it open. It would have been some weird shit. How true is that, though? Right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
No, that's funny. I was listening. I think I was listening to a magician on Joe Rogan. I think, and they were talking about how like magicians are some of the biggest skeptics, which makes perfect sense, right?
Because they know all the.
But yeah, it's like, and there's this whole underground history behind all the different tricks and like the sleight of hand and things that you can get away with in terms of distraction. And so I thought that was fascinating because most of them are atheists and very much like look back at history as like most of religious practices or people in power have used these manipulative tricks that they know all about. And so I thought I was thinking about that, and I was like, I bet you there's a lot of truth in a lot of like some of these ways that old wizards of the day and used to use.
As she's watching these magic shows and super enthralled, and she'll practice little magic tricks on her own. You can't help but do this as a parent. Like, and I know you do the same thing, Justin. You see your kid do something, you just they're going to be a fucking greatest magician.
Right.
So I'm just like I was having this conversation with Jessica. I'm like, could you imagine if she became like a bad? Because how many female magicians do you know that are badass?
Dude, she could totally be a magician / comedian.
Yeah,
Like,
see,
how awesome
that's
would that
exactly
be?
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Damn, how proud I'd be.
I know.
You know what I mean? Unless she didn't make any money, they'd be like, "Sorry, babe. I know you like your magic tricks, but you gotta. Can you make money
pay
up
the
here?
bills.
Yeah, I can't have you. You're 30. You gotta get out of the house now. Anyway, so did you see that article by The Hustle? I think it was Jackie that shared it with us on gyms.
If there
our
it's a
gym
waste,
membership-
I didn't read it.
a waste of money to have a
Worth-
gym membership.
What were they trying to
Are they worth
determine?
the money? Well, so they did
They just did the same old thing that we talk about, where the average person gets a membership and then they don't use it and they pay X amount on it.
Well, there's a big study that was done that finds that the average gym member goes to the gym about 4 times a month. And so when you do the math of how much it costs per hour for them to go to the gym, it's something like $14 an hour, something silly like that. So they're saying, here it is, 82% of gym members go to the gym less than 1 time per week. 82%. 22% completely stop going 6 months into their membership. And 31% say they would never have paid had they known how little they'd use it, which I think that's a weird one. Why wouldn't 100%? It's funny because I think
the small percentage still believe they will.
that's it. I think people like the idea of having a gym membership.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean? Like, no, I think
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there.
Yeah, because they'll do studies on people where the further out, if you ask somebody to tell you, what they're going to accomplish, the further away it is from the present, the more optimistic they are about their abilities. So, like, if I say to somebody, "Hey, do you think you'll be able to write a book in 10 years or whatever?" Like, absolutely. And I said, "Well, do you think it'll happen in a month?" Well, never. Do you think you'll be able to lose 30 pounds, like 6 months from now? Yeah. If I say, next month, they'll say no. So people tend to be very optimistic with stuff.
It's like the thought of it. It's like almost like, I thought about, contributing to this charity the other day. I'm like, man, good job.
I thought about it.
I just thought about it, so
Yeah.
therefore I'm a good person.
Yeah.
Well, gym memberships are funny like that too. I mean, it's one of the few businesses where I mean, even myself, right? I think I'm paying on fucking 3 gyms right now. Right. And the almost every workout I've done in the last 6 months has came in here. So I mean, how much money have I wasted just in 6 months' time of paying 3 other gym memberships?
You're subsidizing your fees are subsidizing for the people who use the gym regularly.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it is.
I'm looking out for them.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah,
Today.
hey, man,
I support those
I'm
people.
keeping your dues
supporting
lower.
you, yeah.
Because seriously, that's what it boils down to is that most people don't use the gym, and they're the reason why the fees are so low. If they never bought the membership, then the people who used it all the time would have to pay like $300 a month.
Then you'd have to actually abide by the fire code.
How smart would it be to be a gym that does like an a la carte membership, and then you also get like some sort of deal if you use it a lot? Like that would be cool.
People have thought of that. It just doesn't. I think there's been gyms that have done that. Where
there's
like you pay X amount, but you get knocked off you pay $100 a month, but every time you use the gym, we take $1 off.
Problem with that is it's the opposite of what you really want, right? As a business owner,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh yeah, your heart says that because you want to help people. Supposedly why you started the business, but in reality, it's going to get more wear and tear on your facility, and you're going to have your gym more filled up, so less people can come in. So it would not be ideal. I mean, that's the funny part about what we do. I think that was what we were all felt so conflicted about for as long as we were in the gym business. Is, you know, we say we're here to help the people out, but in reality,
you're not helping a whole lot.
No, you're not only not helping a whole lot, but there's the model is built to get you to enroll and pay a bunch of money and
never show up.
And never show up.
Yeah,
that's the way the model is
one of the
designed.
in fact, one of the more popular memberships at the time when I was there at 24 Hour Fitness was a membership where you prepaid, so you pay in advance, and you'd have like a 2 or 3 year membership, and then your renewal was insignificant. It was so low. It was like $49 a year and $99 a year. And I think to yourself, like, why would they charge you $100 or less than $100 for the whole year to renew? Because they know you are never going to use that gym, but you'll also never cancel.
Right.
So they have a bunch of people paying $100 a year.
Yeah.
A lot of people paying $100 a year who, and I know I have family members like this. Like, I got a membership. It's so cheap though. I just keep it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just in case. Just in case what? You're never going to go in there.
Traveling or, things.
Yeah.
That's why that membership thing works so well, because it is one of those things where you're like, well, I don't want to cancel it and then have to pay for the enrollment fees, this or that, or have a higher membership than what it was before. So there's, I don't know, it's pretty smart. It's pretty smart, but sad at the same time.
Oh, so I think we can talk about this now.
Oh,
right?
finally, we get to talk about yes.
Yeah.
We get to talk about what we got introduced. We've had them now for 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
We got exclusive access.
So Felix Gray, great glasses for all day use. They block a lot of the harmful types of blue rays, blue light rays, but they didn't have a nighttime version of their glasses, because what you want at night is you want to block more. You want to block most of the of the blue light rays, right? Because you want your brain to think that the way humans evolved. Our brain
to your circadian rhythms.
Yeah, our brains are supposed to follow the natural light rhythms of the sun. So when the sun is up, we get lots of exposure to the sun. When it goes down, it's darker. The brain prepares itself for rest. And they find, for example, there was a study done by the Nova Southeastern University College of Optometry. They found that when participants wore the Felix Gray sleep glasses, so these are the new ones that they have now, the ones that we tried, that they had an increase in melatonin levels of 96%.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and that's a big deal. You know, melatonin is an important hormone that, increases growth hormone. So if it's low, your growth hormone's low. If it's low, your sleep isn't as effective. It's not as recuperative. Low melatonin levels have been connected to cancer. They've been connected to all kinds of neurodegenerative disorders. So you want to have healthy, it's like any hormone, right? You want to have healthy levels of it.
Right.
And so the way to use these glasses, here's how I've been using them. And here's the problem, by the way. This is what everyone's going to get blown away with. I've had nighttime blue blocking glasses in the past. The problem with the nighttime blue blocking glasses,
put you to sleep.
well, no, and they're orange.
Yeah, it distorts the color.
Yeah, they're orange or they're red because they're these, they're blocking all this different light, but then you see everything through this orange tint. So if I don't go to bed when the sun goes down, especially in the winter, right? Sun goes down 6, 7 p.m. I'm still up till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I want to watch a movie. Well, guess what? I'm going to watch a movie in orange color now because I have these orange glasses.
Yeah.
These Felix Grays, which blew me away, they don't distort color.
Yeah.
It's like you're seeing through regular clear lenses,
And again, you still don't look like a dork.
and you don't look like a
Well,
dork.
out of all of our
huge.
products, this
Huge
is
for me.
one of the things that I've fallen in love with the most. I mean, I've definitely adopted wearing the glasses during the day, almost every day. It just depends. Like if I know that I'm not going to be doing a lot of computer work today, I'm not wearing them as I'm actually talking about this. But most days I do. Most days I wear the daytime ones all day long because I'm on my computer or on my phone all day long. And then now that we have the nighttime ones, when I come home at night and it's like 6 or 7, I just switch over to those because it only takes about an hour or so, dude, and I can feel
your body come down.
Yeah, I'm tired.
You're supposed to.
It's wild. It's really wild.
So that's the way to do it. So the way to do it ideally, and this is not. I used to think that it wasn't that big of an effect. Like to be like, oh, well, what's the big deal? It's not going to make that big of an effect. Then you start reading the studies, and you realize this is one of the single most impactful things you can do. Now, of course, when it comes to quality sleep, there's a lot of things that you should do, right? But this, in terms of just one thing that you can do that's going to cause a big impact, this is one of the biggest impacts. And what you should do is you wear the daytime Felix Gray glasses if you're on your computer, you're on your phone, all day long. When the sun goes down, you switch them out for the night ones, which block out more blue light. And the longer you wear them, the more of an effect. Yeah. So rather than just wearing them an hour or two before bed, wear them when the sun goes down, and then you have them on for 4 or 5 hours. Then you go to bed and watch what happens.
Yeah, it's great. I actually just put an order in because they have the prescription available for my prescription. So I'll do that during the day now with the computer and with my phone to really help with that. Because before that, I was just wearing my reading glasses and then the Felix Grays at night. So having the combo of both is going to be huge.
Yeah, I think it's very smart. And the way they did it without it having the tint, like, bravo, good job. Because I don't know anybody else who's been able to do that.
Very smart.
So another article for you guys I want to read to you. So the title of the article is Leg Exercise is Critical to Brain and Nervous System Health. So don't skip leg day. No, all joking aside, this research shows that neurological health depends as much on signals sent by the body's large muscles to the brain as it does on directives from the brain to the muscles. So the bigger the muscles, the more movement, the more of an effect it has on the brain. And if you don't move those muscles,
more neural connections,
they're finding that the brain actually starts to atrophy.
I feel like that's kind of a study.
Yeah.
You would think so, right? But
I mean, this speaks to what we talked about a bunch of times too, where, man, this is why bare minimum I might just go to the gym and just squat. Yeah. There's so much good carryover that happens, and we don't really get this deep into it. But I mean, to me, it's obvious, right? If you're moving the biggest muscles in the body, the overall demand from neurological, muscle, calorie, heart, blood flow, oxygen, everything. It just seems like
it's more valid confirmation though, because I think people disconnect their body from their brain and like their pursuits of gaining
it's all connected,
knowledge.
Man.
Yeah, like you're gonna enhance the process of learning by also physically being active and building muscle and even more of these neural connections.
Well, so here's how the study worked. They did it with mice, and what they did with the mice is they restricted mice from using their hind legs, but not their front legs, over a period of 28 days. And they continued to eat and groom normally, and they did not exhibit stress. Now, at the end of the trial, the researchers examined an area of the brain called the subventricular zone, which in mammals has the role of maintaining nerve cell health. So they looked at it and they found that after 28 days, limiting the physical activity to the hind legs decreased the number of neural stem cells by 70%.
Wow.
So now the reason why this is important to know is because your brain gets lots of feedback from your body. And so a lot of your brain health comes from this type of feedback, and your body always prunes what it doesn't need, right? So you don't use your muscles atrophy, but also the stuff that your muscles can communicate to will also start to atrophy. And so let's say you're an intellectual and you just like to read and exercise your brain that way. You're going to do better if you also move your body. Right. So for people who want to improve their cognitive performance, who want to be smarter, who want to, and this is something I communicate with my kids all the time. Like my son, he gets really, really good grades. He's very academic. And so I tell him, in between, every 30 minutes, if you're doing something where you're really having to use a lot of brain power, get up, move your body, do some squats, do some push-ups, even if it's for 5 to 10 minutes. When you sit back down, you'll find your performance is much better, and of course, it keeps you healthier. And now he's telling me like, oh yeah, that totally works. It makes a big difference. Because schools now are cutting things like PE. They're eliminating all these things, thinking that they're not important. That all we're here to do is teach the kids academics. Right. But even if that was your goal, is just to keep kids, improve their academics and make them smarter in the cognitive sense, activity should also be a part of it. Even if you're not trying to get fit physically, you know what I'm saying? Right. It still improves the brain and the health.
It's all connected.
This Quaz brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's ORGANIFI.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout. Our first question is from Mind to Muscle.
Our boy.
Which sets determine the most amount of gains you're poised to get from a workout? The first few sets or the last few?
Ooh, cool question.
With your stance on volume, how many sets per movement or body part is appropriate when starting a program?
Now that last part is
It's just the two questions here.
yeah. The last let's address the first part because the last part's a little tough.
Now, I remember a long time ago.
This is a cool question.
Yeah, this was a bit of a debate in the muscle building world.
Is it
for a
not
second.
still a little bit?
You know, I don't know if it is so much because there's a lot of a lot of studies now that show that volume is important when it comes to building muscle. But for a second there, what happened was you had kind of the golden era of bodybuilding was like the 70s, right? With Arnold Schwarzenegger and all those guys, and they did a lot of volume.
Yeah, it's all about volume.
Those guys did crazy amounts of volume in their workouts, lots of sets, lots of
Wait a
reps.
second. Are you going to address the second part first?
Nope.
then?
No. This is all first. Yeah.
You're talking about volume right now.
Yeah, I got it. I got the
Okay.
first part. So it was lots of sets, lots of volume. They did all this different stuff. And then during that period of time, there was one bodybuilder who was really, really different from everybody else. It was Mike Menser. Mike Menser and his brother Ray Menser. And these guys came from the Arthur Jones School, where they believed that setting off the muscle building signal was more like a light switch. And as soon as it went off, muscle growth is going to happen. And what sets off that switch was intensity. Like if you just do one all-out insane set to failure, that's what's going to trigger muscle growth, and everything else is just kind of a waste. So there was a bit of this debate that went back and forth, and then studies came out showing that no, volume is also tied to muscle growth. So really the answer to this question from my point of view is all the sets.
Yeah, both.
All the sets contribute to gains. So that means that the last set probably is sending maybe a louder signal than the first few because fatigue is set in and, there's already some stuff going on.
Oh, I feel like sets 2 through 4.
Really?
Yeah.
But if you
Because
took
you get in the groove.
Yeah, but if you
Yeah,
take out
'cause
set one, then you've got
Well, that's part of it is just learning the movement in the first part.
Yeah.
Right, and it really does depend on the movement, right? Like if I think set 1 of a bicep curl could be the most impactful set that I do because it's a bicep curl, it's a preacher curl, it's something fucking so basic you can't screw up and your biceps getting fully recruited. Do something like a squat, and man, the first 2 sets are finding the groove, getting everything firing properly, and it's sets 3, 4, or 5 where I feel I'm getting the biggest bang for my buck. Mm-hmm. So I think it would depend on the movement if I were to debate what sets are the most important. I think it depends on the difficulty of the exercise. More simpler exercises, sets 1 and 2. I think the more the exercise, how advanced it is, I would argue sets 2, 3, and 4, like going further into it. Now that's not to devalue the other sets though either, and say that like none of them are important.
Yeah, I see that, and that's the thing. I think they're all important and they all work together. So if you take out the first few sets and just do one set, is it going to be as effective as if you didn't have the first ones to begin with? It's like saying this. It's like saying if you don't prime your body before a workout, are you going to get the same results? Well, no, I don't think you will. I think you'll get better results if you prime properly, even though the priming itself may not contribute to all these strength gains and stuff. So it's an interesting debate. It's almost like a philosophical one in the fitness
I feel
world.
like it unlocks your body's ability to then apply more force safely. Like you've taught your body the movement. Now you're comfortable to where I feel like you could press the threshold a little bit more going into it. So maybe that at that point it's like my intensity can then build up, which will contribute, as well as volume, right? We could just go on a marathon doing that same movement.
If we speak to it like a skill, which we talk about it a lot, that treat exercise like a skill-based exercise. Well, think of it like a baseball player who goes out to hit home runs.
Yeah.
And sure, when he's the freshest and he hasn't swung the bat, he has the most energy and the ability potentially to hit the ball harder and further.
But his accuracy might not be there yet.
Right. And then but the likelihood of him hitting the longest ball, I don't know. I mean,
maybe from a power standpoint.
Right.
But not from a technique standpoint.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and because it's a skill.
Right,
that's what I'm saying.
right.
And so, I think his best home runs or the ball that goes travels the furthest is rarely ever the very first one that he makes contact with. It's normally swings
You get
later.
in the zone.
So
You start hitting that sweet
I
spot.
feel the same way about very high skill driven movement, squatting, deadlifting, overhead pressing, bench press, compound lifts. I would say that, sets 1 and 2, you may have the most energy and you may have the most potential for it to be the best and the most important. But I would argue that it takes a couple of those sets for you to get the maximum out of that set.
Yeah.
Not to take away from sets 1 and 2, or like we're talking about with priming, I think they're all important. But I think that when you're talking about a skill-based exercise, I would argue that the most important sets are the ones that, after that you've got into the groove and figured that out.
Yeah, I think when you look at your program, you definitely can break out segments and analyze each piece of the workout in the program, but you have to look at the whole picture. And here's an example. Like if we were to look at a meter, let's say hypothetically we had this new invention that measured muscle building signal. Sets one, let's say you're doing 3 sets of an exercise or 4 sets of an exercise. Sets 1 and 2 are probably not going to send a very loud muscle building signal. But as you get a little more fatigued, get warmed up, you really get into the groove, you're pushing harder, more blood is in the muscle, you're probably going to send a louder signal with sets 3 and 4 being the one that sends the loudest signal. But would it have sent that signal as loudly had it not been for the previous sets that set that one up? So you have to really look at the entire picture, and so that's why this question is kind of a difficult one to
That's a fun
answer.
one. It's a fun one to talk
It's
to.
interesting to speculate.
Scroll back up to the top, Doug, so I can read the bottom, because the bottom half he's asking about
How many sets per movement?
Yeah, with your stance on volume, how many sets per movement or body part is appropriate when starting a program? Again, back to the skill part of it, I think. I think that I can go in and do 2 sets of a curl, a press down, an isolation movement, and bang it out. That's enough. Like I could do 2 hard sets, bicep curls, and get a massive pump from it, send a signal, and I'm done with the work there. Anything after that, probably not as much benefits. Now, any of the skill-based stuff, I really think I need at least 1 to 2 sets just to find the groove. So I think it would also, again, depend on the movement or body part on how many sets.
I think it depends so much on the individual too, man. You
course.
get a beginner, it doesn't take a lot, and you got to adjust intensity and all that stuff too, because intensity is important. I mean, the higher the intensity, the less volume you could do, and vice versa. Right. And when it comes to a beginner, you're better off doing more sets than you are with more intensity. Like I could take a beginner, and I could severely hurt them, overtrain them, or just do too much with just 1 set. I could take 1 set, squats to failure with a beginner, and they're going to be fucked, versus taking a beginner and spend an entire hour doing lots of volume of very low intensity squat type movements, and they'd be much better off. So all those things matter, but the key is how many sets per movement or per body part is appropriate? The least amount. That's going to get your body to change.
Right.
Yeah. That's the right amount. You want to get to the point where you're doing the right amount. It's getting you have the right balance of adaptation, recovery, based on context of your body's recovery ability, based on the context of your current level of health, and all that stuff. The right amount is the right amount.
Well,
any more isn't better.
Well, I was just texting back and forth with my cousin who was just getting back into the rhythm of training again, and he'd been falling off for I think 6 months or so. And he has all of our programs, and he loves split, and he was diving back into split. I'm like, why would you start with our split program? You've been off for 6 months. Doesn't mean that you can't, but it doesn't make sense to jump into a program that high of volume. This is part of why when you originally, years ago now it's like 4 or 5 years ago, so crazy to think that, when you sent over MAPS Anabolic, what I thought was so brilliant about it was I remember looking it over and going like, God, this is just the right amount to really stretch and push somebody without really over fucking doing it. And like 80-90% of all my clients fall in this category right here, that this is how they should be training for maximum results. And, that's 2 sets. That's 2 sets of most all exercises, 1 exercise per body part. And doing that 3 times in a week, or 2 even. You have it set to where, 2.
You can do either or.
Yeah, if you're a beginner, it's only 2 times. If you're a little more intermediate, maybe 3 times. But that volume of training, I think, is, to me, that's where I send everybody. Anybody who's getting ready to get started and they haven't lifted they've taken a break over the holidays, whatever, is I urge them to start in MAPS Anabolic and start with the least amount at first, because it's not going to take much to send that signal and make that body change.
Picture it this way. Picture you have a basketball hoop, and throwing the basketball into the hoop means your body's going to progress, okay? So the basketball hoop is 10 feet away from me. I'm going to throw the basketball into the hoop. If I throw the basketball 9 feet, I miss the hoop. If I throw the basketball 11 feet, I miss the hoop. This is the same thing with training volume and intensity and all those other factors. The right amount is the right amount. The right amount is going to get that ball into the hoop. Any more, and you miss. This is why we say do the least amount that's going to get you those results, because we have a tendency to think that if some is good, more is better. Nothing could be further from the truth when it comes to exercise. It's totally false. If the right amount is the right amount, any more than that actually reduces your gains, actually slows down your progress, and in fact, many times, especially with fitness fanatics, is the main reason why their body's not progressing at all.
Right.
It's why they're plateaued. If I take somebody, whenever somebody messages me and they ask me how they can get their body to start progressing again, I usually ask them, well, what's your experience like? What are your goals? How long you been working out? If it's somebody that's like, oh, I've been working out for 6 years, I work out 5 days a week, I'm super consistent, I know one of the easiest ways to get their body to progress is to reduce some of the stuff they're doing. Here, you're probably doing too much, because I know someone in your state, you're probably just going at it too hard and too long and too much. Bring it back. You're just doing too much. Your body's not able to handle the volume, the load, the intensity, whatever. Now, that's not true for all cases, of course. Sometimes, many times, you're not doing enough. Many times, you're just not working out that much, or you're not working out hard enough. But again, it's the right dose. So it's no different than, if you're working out too little and working out too much. Both of them are not going to get you more results. So when it comes to volume, as a trainer, this is one of the most valuable things that you could do or provide to your clients, is helping them figure that out. A, you have to figure that out for them. And then B, if you train them a long time, help them figure out their own body and how they know. And one of the gauges, see, here's where soreness comes into play. I used to gauge soreness as a way to say, oh, I had a good workout. Like, oh, if I'm really sore, that means I had a good workout. Or if my clients are really sore, it means I have a really good workout. Later on, I realized that soreness was a great way to gauge if I did too much.
Right, if you overreached.
Yeah, if I feel a little sore, that's fine. Most of the times I don't feel any soreness, but if I feel a little bit sore, like, I'm okay, that was good. But if I'm hammered, like if I'm super, like, oh my God, my chest, I could barely stretch it.
If it's affecting the way you move the next day.
You did too much.
Wait, and you're always, here's the thing, we get razzed about this. I know we do it with our peers that are other fitness inspiration people, is that's just because we've trained so many people. And I think that most people, meaning 90+%, you are way better off, scaling back and undershooting the bucket, as your with your analogy with basketball. You're way better off undershooting it and then slowly keep adding a little bit more until you find that sweet spot than you are to overreach every time thinking that you're going to get there faster.
It's an uphill battle.
Whoa, wait.
Yeah, it's really hard to take a client who's just, and here's what Adam's talking about. If I had a client who is not working out enough, it's not hard to get their body to start moving and progressing. If I have a client that's just beating the crap out of themselves way too much, we have months of work to do. I got to get them to, okay, we got to scale back. We got to get your sleep better. We got to let your body recover. It's going to take a couple months because your body's fried. It's hard at that point to get them to to get things moving. But if I have somebody who's not working out enough, I'll just bump them up a little bit. Oh, there you go. Your body's responding.
Right, which and those people are not who we're talking to. We're not talking to somebody who has a hard time with consistency of even getting to the gym. It's like that person needs to move more. They need to exercise more. It's really and I think the people that are listening to this show are more on the fanatical side. They're more serious. We have a very large population of personal trainers. We have a lot of people that if you're listening to health and fitness in your ears all the time, more than likely you're going to the gym pretty consistently, and they're just trying to figure out the right way to do it. And the answer is you're always shooting for the least amount of work to elicit the most amount of change. And you'd always rather undershoot because you have room to scale up than to go as hard as you can, which is the opposite, I feel, that this space has been pushing. We've been pushing the intensity message for as long as I've been in it, and I, too, have fell victim to that of thinking that this was the best approach, is balls to the wall, no days off, and killing it all the time, when it's like, no. Like, in fact, you're way better off doing way less and then going like, oh, wow, I could have done a little bit more. Great, you got another workout ahead of you in 2 days. You know what I'm saying? Do a little more then, and just and look
even
for
if it's about that mental toughness and really being able to work that side of it as well. Like you can work as hard as you possibly can at something, but like you need it to be able to stick. You need to be able to do that long term, and this is just one of those things I had to learn the hard way, that there is a smarter way to approach it to where it's fully incorporated in my life now. Like this is something I can get up and go do another workout today. I don't have to worry about like, oh my God, my legs are, I'm debilitated because of the workout I did previous to that. And it's almost more hard of a discipline to back it down a little bit.
Next question is from KM Kendall. Can you expand on the idea that not all calories are created equal? For example, 500 calories of fries versus 500 calories of whole grains or sweet potatoes.
I love this discussion because it goes back and forth, and I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so to specify, if we were to take 500 calories of fries and 500 calories of healthy food, and we were just measuring the energy within the foods, they're the same in the sense that 1,000 pounds of feathers weighs the same amount as 1,000 pounds of bricks. That old riddle, right? Which weighs more? It's the same, right? Okay, that doesn't mean that they're the same in terms of how your body reacts to them. So here's what I mean by that, because we tend to only think of calories in versus calories out as if that's the only thing we need to pay attention to when we're trying to eat in a way to get our body to lose weight and feel good long term. Okay? Yes, calories in versus calories out. It's a law of physics. It's the rule, the thermodynamics, right?
It's the most simplistic approach you could take.
Okay, but how do you feel? Eat 500 calories of fries and then eat 500 calories of a well-balanced meal. See how you feel.
500 calories of complaining to French fries to sweet potatoes is too close, I think, for most people to get the analogy. It's way simpler to explain to someone like, drink 500 calories of soda and then take 500 calories and mix it between sweet potato, chicken breast, and then some greens, and both are 500 calories. There's so much that you're getting nutrient value from the balanced meal than you're getting from and I think that's obvious to people. I think where people all of a sudden get this gray area or they get confused is when you compare things like a French fry, which is a potato that's fried, to sweet potatoes. There isn't a huge amount of difference. Not the difference between a 500-calorie drink of sugar versus a 500-calorie balanced meal. It's a large spectrum.
Look, to me, it's just looking at like chemicals, like different chemicals are going to affect me in a different way. Like why don't we I just don't understand how we can't discern the difference between what type of nutrient value you're getting from one type of a food versus one that has the same type of a calorie standard.
I'll tell you why. It's because a lot of people, like our good friend Lane, who's out there that's on this march of there's no such thing.
He's
as
a real rabble rouser, isn't he?
Yes, dude. He says this whole march of
like that word?
Rabble rouser. That's good. Where'd you pull that one from?
I don't know. I just popped into my brain.
No, that there's a large community, and he's a part of it. That there's no such thing as bad food, and there's no such thing as bad food and good food. It's all just calories, right? Like that's this is this movement.
Why is it giving me diarrhea?
This is this movement that we have going on that I think is confusing people that are going like, hey, well, he's right. Law of thermodynamics, and if it's 500 calories, my goal is to lose, then really it's not going to play that big of a part. Yeah, in the whole weight loss, weight gain world, you're right. There isn't a lot of difference between 500 calories of soda and 500 calories. If you are a IIFYM person, it's the end of the night, and you have 500 calories left in your available calories to eat or drink, and you decide to have 500 calories of Coke versus 500 calories balance, can you still wake up the next morning and be leaner? Absolutely. Absolutely. You absolutely can.
Especially if the macros match too.
This is all a young man's argument.
That's what I'm saying. If all you care about is losing weight or gaining weight, then absolutely the law of thermodynamics does apply. And absolutely, if you have 500 calories left in the bank or the tank that you're allowed to consume, and you choose to go all 500 calories of that in soda or all 500 calories in French fries, and you pass on the chicken breast, broccoli, and white rice, absolutely, you can still lose weight. The question is, how optimal is that for your body for all the other things and all the other benefits that come from the nutrient-dense food? There's other things, there's other systems, there's other parts of your body that relies on all these micronutrients that nobody likes to talk about because it's not sexy.
Right. One of the biggest lessons I learned training hundreds of people is that the psychology behind everything that they do is the most important thing, right? So when you're talking about losing weight or gaining weight or changing your body composition, we're talking about doing this long term, forever, okay? And if you just look at everything as macros and calories, you're gonna have a tough time doing it. Or, unless you're like this fanatic about it and you're gonna have this unhealthy obsession with counting calories and counting macros all the time. But we have to consider the subject. You have to consider the person. And 500 calories of one particular type of food is going to make someone feel different than 500 calories of another types of food. And it can be from the way it affects your hormones. It could be the way it affects your neurotransmitters. But it could also just be the palatability of the food. Like 500 calories of some foods are going to make me hungrier. 500 calories of other foods are going to make me not want to eat anymore. Is that a factor? Should we consider that factor when we're trying to look at our diet and trying to lose weight or gain weight? Absolutely.
What about skin, hair, digestion? You have all these other things.
Sure.
That to me, it's even simpler than that. It's like you have things that are in nutrient-dense foods that make your hair better, make your skin better, make your eyes better, make you shit better. All these things that are important to fucking being healthy and normal are packed in nutrient-dense foods. They are not packed in processed, packaged, sugary drinks and things like that. So, yeah, but when we're talking about law of thermodynamics and calories in, calories out, and weight loss versus weight gain, then yes, this is true that you could choose to do that. But there's so much more to your body running optimally than just losing weight or gaining weight.
That's right.
And yes, like you're saying, palatability, and if I were to have 500 calories of sugar at night, it would keep me up and it would make me hungry and want more versus having a balanced meal. So that's obvious too, I think.
Yeah, it's I was talking to someone DM'd me about wanting to, they consider themselves a hard gainer. A hard gainer is somebody who finds that it's very difficult to gain muscle or size, and they have a fast metabolism. I'm a hard gainer. I was a hard gainer growing up. I know Adam's talked about this in the past. And so I had to reverse the way I talk to them, because normally I talk to people about normally I talk to people about how to eat foods that are going to make them more satisfied, so that they don't have to deal with this ravenous hunger. Well, this poor kid's like, I can't eat any more food. So I'm like, look, you're going to want to eat foods that make you want to eat more, and you're going to want to eat them in order of, you don't want to eat the super satiating stuff first because you have all these other foods left over. Mm-hmm. Do it on the reverse. And so we were talking about that, and I experienced it this weekend. I had family over, and we were eating sandwiches for lunch. And I almost never eat bread, but this time I did. I had nice French bread. We made all these like really nice Italian sandwiches or whatever. And I find that bread, not only bloats me, so I kind of feel kind of crappy, but literally,
do that.
Literally an hour later, I want more food. Mm-hmm. It triggers more of an appetite. So if I let's say bread was healthy and I could digest it well, that probably would be a good thing for me to try and increase my appetite to have me eat more. All these things are very important. So all these factors are important to consider. And here's another thing I've told clients before: can somebody gain weight on a whole food, natural diet, of foods that they prepare themselves.
Good
that are balanced.
luck.
They
Good-
can't. You
good
can.
luck. Good luck.
Right, but good luck. Like I used to tell clients.
How many clients have you met?
Yeah, exactly. I used to tell clients, hey, eat all these foods as much as you want. Let's see what happens. And most of them would end up losing weight because they'd be satisfied. They don't want to eat anymore. Their hunger now is more appropriate because does your body really want to be super overweight? It actually doesn't. Palate fatigue exists naturally because in nature, if you overeat something and you get sick, it's not good for you either. Now, the odds of you doing that are low because you stop wanting to eat.
Do you know when I put this together, I got it. We'd probably have to look the book up. Maybe Doug can look this book up. LL Cool J did a book.
Yeah. He knocks your mom out.
He did a book, and I don't remember what year it was, but this was pretty early on or maybe midway through my training career. And one of the things that I liked about it was, and this is when I pieced all this together as a trainer, was he had, I want to say 4 or 5 sections of food. And it's even further back than that one, Doug. I think it's that bottom one. It's one of the older ones for sure. Anyways,
Is he wearing pants?
He had a section in there that was foods that you should never eat, foods that you should rarely ever eat, foods that you should eat sometimes, and then foods you should eat all the time. And then it had a recommended 2 to 3 times in a day for that, once rarely, and it was such a basic list, but it was so put together, I think, in such a simplistic way that it helped my clients tremendously just to understand that, listen,
There's
stay
sort of a hierarchy there.
Right, and it matters. There's no calorie counting going on here. It's just eat most of your foods from here. Try and limit yourself over here. And it's amazing what a difference that made. That was when I pieced that together was this, and I think maybe for a year or two, I think I kept copies of this by my desk, and this was just how I used to give clients out all their diet information, because telling someone to go follow this diet that I put together for the next 2 weeks it never seemed to last. It never seemed to keep people going forever. And then this whole wave right now with the IIFYM and people finding ways to fit these foods that are not ideal for you to be eating into your diet because you want them so bad. It's well, what are we really doing? You obviously have some sort of an addiction or connection to these foods that you feel the need that you have to fit them in somehow. What are you really doing? Are you just justifying that? That's why I don't like this whole there's no such thing as good or bad food. And I understand the whole movement of not demonizing food. I'm not trying to demonize food, but I'm also very realistic, and I understand that I've trained lots of fucking people that allow a lot of these foods to come in all the time, and they struggle and they battle with it. So much of dieting and nutrition is psychological too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you have to battle things that kick up cravings and things that you have attachments to and things that you've made connections as a kid and that you love it and whatever, if you are still struggling with all that and you're to me, the whole IIFYM movement.
Well, there's some foods that are just very much set up to overindulge in, and it's the perfect example with donuts. After the basketball game, I was seeing red just because it's just one of those things where it's the wrong reward. We just did all this awesome physical activity, everything. Let's benefit the body, let's nourish the body now, and now we're giving it shit. But that's one of those foods. It's oh yeah, I don't want another one. I want another one.
Right. No, this whole movement of there are no good bad foods, and there are no good foods. That all follows the same trend of morality is subjective.
The
and
fat people.
Everything's okay.
It's another one of those. It's another one of those things. There's no such thing as fat. There's just love yourself the way it is. There's
relativism for everything.
Yeah, okay. There are bad things and there are good things in life. And no, I'm sorry. I know it maybe makes you feel better at night to go to bed and think, oh well, it's everything. I'm good. Everything's good because it's all relative. No, I'm sorry. There's objective things that are good. There's objective things that are bad. It goes to food as well. Does that mean that there's no use for a Pop-Tart every once in a while? No, sure, there may be a use for it, but does that make it healthy for you? Nope. Doesn't change the reality, so.
Right.
Next question is from Madness Fit. I've heard that training a mobile limb when the other is incapacitated in a cast or sling can actually cause similar strength gains in the injured limb.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to this?
Yeah, there's truth to this.
There absolutely is.
Pretty cool.
Absolutely is.
I think this just supports the neurological side.
Yeah.
Right? Just getting neurons to get firing and moving and stuff like that is gonna promote muscle sustainability anywhere on your body.
There's a local effect, that you're going to get most of the effect, right? So if I work out my legs only, most of the adaptation, most of the strength, most of the gains are going to go to my legs. But there's also this kind of systemic effect throughout the whole body where, somebody who only works out their legs is going to be stronger in their arms than if they had never worked out at all, both from the hormone changes systemically, but there's also this muscle building signal that they've now measured that happens throughout the whole body. They've actually done studies on this. This is something that's been observed for a long time. One study found that when subjects trained just their right arm and their right arm gained, 20 to 25% strength and muscle, the left arm, although not being trained, would still gain around 10% strength. So now why is this important to know? Because people all the time will injure themselves and then say, oh, well, I can't go to the gym because my leg is in a cast or my right arm is hurt, and so I just can't work out at all. And I always tell them, train the rest of your body. Just go to the gym and be active and work everything else out. Not only will it improve and speed up the recovery of the broken or injured limb, it'll also prevent atrophy, and you'll be better off when that cast comes off. So this is an important thing I think to talk about.
Well, I think that you get the blood flow, you get more oxygen, more nutrients, you get the CNS part of the
irradiation
carryover
effect.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to that. I mean, anytime I've been injured, I've still been in the gym lifting and doing other things like that. I think it always helps the recovery process too. Like when you start to actually rehab, and if you've already had a momentum of working out and exercise,
there's a systemic atrophy that happens when you just don't exercise the whole body. That's more than just the limbs that are not being trained themselves. Like if you don't exercise anything at all, let's say let's say all you care about are your arms. Here, this is a good one to talk about. There's a lot of people, especially a lot of guys out there, who don't like to work their legs out. They just want to work out their upper body. They want to work out the show muscles.
Yeah, chicken legs.
And I'll always tell them, start squatting and watch what happens to your arms. Watch the arm size. Watch what happens. I remember there was this one kid who worked for me years ago, who he was all arms, all upper body. All he ever did was work out his upper body. And he's like, man, my arms are stuck at 16 3/4 of an inch, and I want to get my arms to 17 inches. And I said, start doing some squats and deadlifts and watch what happens. And he's like, well, he couldn't understand. He's like, well, why? Is it because I'm holding onto the bar and I'm trying to tense up and do this and that? I'm like, no. I said, your body, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and your body kind of knows this. That's the way I explained it, at least back then. And so sure enough, I convinced him to work out his lower body, to do some squats. Sure enough, it was within like a couple months. Of course, his legs grew like crazy, but he gained a 1/4 inch on his arms. Yeah. And this guy was stuck there forever. I've experienced this with myself when I've been injured. I've had injuries I've had my left knee, kneecap has been dislocated a couple times. And the second time it happened, I went back to the gym and I still did exercises with my right leg. And now this is anecdotally, but my recovery, my ability to gain muscle and strength back in the leg that was injured was so much better when I worked out just my right leg. It was that whole, carryover effect. So I think it's real important when you're injured to work out your whole body to amplify that effect, or at least take care of that effect, so you don't get that super bad atrophy that you can get from being injured. But studies have proven this. It's been done for a long time. There's a term for it years ago. I want to say, I'm going to look it up. Here we go. All the way back to 1894, they recorded, it was recorded as contralateral effects, or cross-education or cross-training effects. Mm-hmm. And these these terms refer to the findings of untrained limbs increasing in strength during unilateral training. Mm-hmm. So this is not even this has been pretty established that for sure this ends up happening.
Next question is from Dallas Dedman. Since you are all fans of cannabis, how do you think you'll approach the subject when your kids become interested in it or try it without you knowing? Do you think you will discipline them or allow them to do it within certain parameters?
This is interesting.
Right now, I'm assuming both of you keep it pretty undercover, right? Like your kids don't see either one of you.
I've had conversations with my son about cannabis, and I try to keep open dialogue. He's 13, that's why I've had it with him. My daughter's 9, so she really doesn't have any questions about it. But I try to keep open dialogue about all things, and I always encourage him, like, you can ask me anything. And I try not to act shocked when he brings things up because I want him to feel comfortable. And we had a conversation about drugs in general, and then he asked me if I'd tried certain drugs. Did you try this? Did you try that? And so I was pretty honest, and he asked me about cannabis, and I said, yeah, I did, and I have, and I told him about, how I started using it, how I tried it when I was younger, but then how I started using it because it helped me with my gut issues, and how his grandmother, before she passed away, she used it for treating her cancer, how there's medicinal effects, but also how there's recreational effects, why people like using it, and I think it's important to have really open dialogue. And it's funny when people ask about cannabis this way because everybody's kind of weird about it. Mm-hmm. I'll treat it the same way I treat alcohol, Yeah. Like they see their family members drinking wine and drinking alcohol,
right. And weed's getting like this too, where you can be at a family function or event and there's multiple people that are probably smoking or going around the corner and smoking and doing that. So,
yeah, I think I'll approach it like you alluded to in terms of alcohol, because they have already been exposed to Courtney and I will have a drink with dinner, and we've talked our way through that quite a bit in terms of how that affects us, and what the proper amount, and like what really happens where it becomes problematic is when people start to lose their inhibitions with it, and they go a little too far in the dosing of it, and it's all something that you can manage and maintain. And weed has not been one of those things that we've been able to cover yet, but it's going to be, I won't call it weed. I'll say cannabis. But it's one of those things. It's like, even for me personally, I've had sort of a long road with that to be able to kind of unravel a lot of the stigma, even with sort of hiding and being like a little bit in the dark with it. And just knowing all the health benefits, adjacent now that I could kind of refer to, that helps. But also just like knowing, more of the history behind it, and just seeing all the hypocrisy in terms of how they handle substances like caffeine, alcohol, all these really popular drugs in a sense. I just have a completely different view of it now than my parents, than their generation. And I think that our generation is going to be a lot different with it, going forward. So
I think just don't make it weird.
Just downplay
If you make it really weird,
there has to be the
taboo, they're going to be more likely to want to go crazy with it and shit like that,
This is an interesting question because I don't have kids. But more so because I actually had this conversation with my little brother. My little brother is 12, 13 years younger than I am. And so do the math, when I was 28, 29 and getting into the cannabis space, he's in his teens. And right at that age of when you're probably around pot a lot with friends in high school and shit like that. And here you have your older brother who was pretty much a straight arrow kid most of my life and was in fact anti-marijuana for a very long time. Now, like, running a cannabis club, and one of the first ones to do that, and then I got into growing and everything. So all of a sudden I go from anti-marijuana to fucking kingpin. And I got to tell my little brother that, I have to have this conversation with him. I'll never forget the conversation. We're sitting up in my living room at my house, and he was just starting to get into it. And I felt that I was afraid that he would not make the same intelligent, or what I thought was intelligent, decisions when it came to the usage of cannabis that I did. And so that's what I feared was, he's young, he was very young getting involved in it. I got involved in my late 20s. I'd already won. I came from I was anti it. And so it took a lot to convince me that it wasn't just a bunch of hippies that were saying that it has medicinal benefits, just using an excuse to get high. So it took a lot of convincing, first of all, to convince me otherwise with that. And then once I finally was introduced to the proper strains and realized, like, oh, wow, I don't need to get fucking loaded. I can take a couple hits of something and I can actually experience some of these benefits that people talk about when it comes to anxiety or sleep or stress or whatever, or even, aches and pains. Like I started to see that stuff and go, okay, I can see the benefits of this, but I could also still see where a lot of people go down the rabbit hole and end up being addicted to it like anything else, even though it's not a quote unquote addictive drug. It can be just like anything else. And so I had this long talk with him, and a lot of what I shared with him was that, like what Sal and Justin are saying, which is telling him that, yes, it has some of its benefits and there's a lot of positive things that are around it. I said, but the scary thing is that because it's something that we use recreationally, that it can get, seem fun and seem like something that you want to do a lot, because watching movies is fun in it, and playing video games with it is fun, and doing shit on the weekend with your buddies is fun. And before you know it, it becomes something that starts to consume your life. And something that I put together because I got into it being older, I'd already seen myself be successful in the business world and financially make it and be a grinder and a hard worker. And then I could see myself when I got high. And when I got high, I was not this productive, get after it type of guy who could work bell to bell 7 days a week. And so that was my concern with him, is that, listen, you're at that age right now when you're young, you don't have kids, you're not married. And if there was ever a time that you were going to pour yourself into excelling and being successful and growing and learning and being better, this is the time. And quite frankly, as much as your brother is pro cannabis, it does concern me on how much that would have slowed down the rate of my success in my early 20s had I been using it on a regular basis. So I had that discussion, and to be honest, I failed, because I see my brother now and he's high 24/7, and it's really unfortunate that he's attached himself to, and he's an introvert. So what he used to explain, or if you were to hear him talk about why he uses cannabis, is because he says it allows him to be himself and personable, and he doesn't get this social anxiety. He says he deals with a lot of social anxiety, gets around people, and if he's sober, he clams all up. He doesn't want to talk to anybody, gets nervous. If he's loaded and he's high, he's outgoing, he's personable, he talks to people.
Yeah, and then you end up training it that becomes your default pattern.
Exactly.
This is how you operate.
And so all of a sudden he starts to utilize this as a tool so he doesn't feel social anxiety. And so, since we're social creatures and we're around people all the fucking time, it all of a sudden warrants or justifies him smoking, from sun up to sundown. And so I see that now, and it's really, really unfortunate. And I've seen him spiral down from a lot of different things, just of how he takes care of himself and the way he lives and shit like that. And it's kind of a bummer that I didn't get through to him. So, I think about that a lot, and I think about what am I going to do when I have a kid. And I don't know, like I know me, and like the way I am with anything in discipline, as much as I'm pro cannabis, there's probably a good chance that you won't see or hear me smoking very much with kids, if ever. Yeah. I'm the type of person that it's not that, as pro as I am, it's not that important to be in my life that I will want to have to explain to my kid, why is dad getting high?
Well, yeah, and personally, I would love it if they refrained until they were older, and like they were like mature, and they'd like, even any altered state of consciousness. I want to see, like you said, like pouring themselves into these, the development of their skills, the development of their education, like that keeps them plenty busy. Mm-hmm. Like there's plenty of fun to be had later on, and when you're mature and you make more rational decisions, and it's not like so impulsive.
If a person has good, healthy coping mechanisms, if a person is comfortable with being uncomfortable at times, then the odds that they will become addicted or have a poor relationship to a substance are much smaller. We know that now. It's not necessarily the substance that's the problem, although some substances have more addictive properties than others, especially physiologically speaking. Like caffeine is a very addictive physiological substance. Like you drink caffeine every day for 2 weeks, go off of it, you'll feel withdrawal, right? So, and other drugs are much worse. But besides that, if you feel like you need a substance to do something, like to either deal with your depression or deal with boredom or deal with social anxiety or deal with your wife or your husband or work, then it's much easier to become addicted, because now I hate this part of my life. This makes it so that I can deal with that part. So they don't have the tools to cope or to handle, everyday life. It's funny. I was watching another conversation. I don't remember what interview it was. I think it was the one with the rabbi on the Rubin Report, and he said that it's funny because people need to learn how to be unhappy sometimes. Like, you don't need to be fucking happy all the time.
Right.
You have to be okay with being unhappy and realize the benefits that comes from it. Same thing with being bored.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to be bored sometimes. In fact, being bored many times spurs creativity and opens up space in your mind to remember and to do things. And so I think, when it comes to my kids, I really want to just try to raise them in a way where they have those coping mechanisms where they could deal with certain things. Because if a kid learns how to deal with something with a drug, that drug may become a part of their life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if your kid is having a tough time through their teens, which a lot of teenagers do, and they're having their, mood fluctuations that happen from it. Maybe school is real tough. Maybe, whatever, there's something difficult going on in their life. and they find a substance, and that substance helps them cope with it. And now they've learned that pattern of coping with something difficult with this substance. Well, the next challenging thing that happens, they're going to do that again, and they're going to keep doing it. And next thing you know,
remove that.
And next thing you know, they would rather be high than be sober. And that's the problem, really. So it's not so much the substance as it is that.
It's a very scary, and it's a really good question, because I think about this a lot because I feel like I failed my brother, and that fear of what, if and when I have a kid, like how am I going to deal with this? Especially at this time, like we are in the we come from a time when it was shamed, right? Or it was kept in the dark.
Super taboo.
Yeah, very taboo to smoke weed. So it's becoming normal and hip and cool, and just like anything, like a glass of wine, it's becoming that casual, especially where we're at in the Bay Area. And so I think about raising a kid in that, during that time, I really think that we're in this window, in this like 10-year window or so, of a very scary time to be trying to raise a kid around this subject, because we're trying to get it legalized, that so much positive information is coming around it, which I'm totally pro, because I think we were the complete opposite years before that. The back when we were kids, the egg frying pan, this is your brain on drugs.
Yeah.
We used the marijuana commercial, like the guy goes crazy.
Scare the fuck out of you.
Yeah. So we went from one extreme of it'll kill you, it's the worst thing for you, it's the gateway drug to everything, which was all bullshit, to now the opposite extreme, which is cannabis can help everything. It's for everything in the body. It's so good for you. And I don't agree with either one of those camps. I'm somewhere in the middle. Like I believe it can be useful for a lot of people, and I think it shouldn't be legalized and demonized. But then I also don't think that it's for most people. I think most people don't have the self-discipline to even get to the fucking gym and sacrifice eating certain foods that they shouldn't eat because it's not ideal and optimal for their body. Those same fucking people probably shouldn't be getting high.
Yeah. Well, look. This is real, right? A huge percentage of Americans, a large percentage of Americans, have tried a substance, whether it be alcohol, tobacco, or an illicit drug. A very small percentage of them become addicted to anything at all.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that it's not the substance so much that we need to fear, especially a substance like cannabis, which, yeah, you could become a stoner and become a loser, but it's not going to kill you. Don't fear the substance, and don't demonize the substance, because that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. People will use it or not. And sometimes the taboo just makes kids want to use it even more. In fact, I think cannabis is going to be the point where kids are going to be like, it's not that big of a deal anymore. Whereas before it was like, oh, you got a joint, and it makes it kind of cool. Focus on the reasons why people become addicted. Like, you don't want your kid to have a problem with drugs. Well, give them a good childhood. Raise them to be confident. Teach them ways to overcome challenges. Don't raise them in a way where they're afraid of being challenged. Don't shelter them too much. Show them love. Those types of things. So that, because here's what's going to happen. Your kid goes, at some point, your kid's going to move out of the house or go to college. They're going to be exposed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to raise my kids to be able to deal with having to make decisions for themselves. Because at some point,
avoid the conversation.
That's it. That's it.
You definitely want to have that conversation, and you want to educate as much as possible. But yeah, if they have a sense of purpose all the time and they're involved, either in their school extracurricular activities that are, a healthy thing for them to be involved in, like that's where all the efforts need to lie.
I want to have the relationship where me and my kids were all adults, and we all every great once in a while drink together. I get to take my kids are all in their 20s or whatever. We all go out to a bar and enjoy ourselves responsibly, or we all smoke a joint together at some point or something like that. We're all it's responsible. It's funny, they do studies on countries where their attitudes are different towards alcohol. Mm-hmm. Like you look at the Mediterranean countries where wine is served at dinner, and they'll always have the little kid, hey, try a little bit or whatever. Binge drinking is much lower in a lot of these countries because it's not
right.
I mean, I got really sick the first time I got drunk because I didn't understand or know, because I never drank as a kid. Yeah. When I was a kid, not only did I never drink, nobody in my family drinks.
You drink it like a big gulp.
So I never understood. Nobody taught me, what happens. So that's the kind of conversations that I tend to have with my kids. I'll talk about those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Look, if you go to mindpumpfree.com, you can check out some of our free guides. We have a lot of guides on there. Some teach you how to squat like a pro. Others teach you how to become a better personal trainer or more successful trainer. There's ones that train your arms, your abs. A lot of guides there. They're all free. Mindpumpfree.com. Go check it out. Also, you can find us on Instagram. We all have individual pages. Mine is Mind Pump Sal. Adam is Mind Pump Adam. And Justin is Mind Pump Justin.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.